It started as a trial that should have been straightforward, but the truth was anything but ordinary. A black woman stood in court, fighting for her innocence, but the odds were stacked against her. The prosecutor, confident in his power, manipulated the case to deny her a fair trial. What he didn't know was that this woman wasn't just any defendant. She was also a skilled investigator working on something that could change everything. Behind the scenes, she was uncovering the prosecutor's own web of financial misdeeds, a truth that could unravel his career. As the courtroom drama unfolded, secrets began to surface, leaving everyone to wonder, would justice prevail, or would the scales tip further into corruption? This is the story of a fight for fairness, a battle against power, and the hidden truth that could bring it all crashing down. The courtroom was filled with murmurs as the trial unfolded. The prosecutor, known for his aggressive tactics, seemed to have complete control. He presented evidence that painted the defendant in the worst possible light, carefully crafting a narrative that swayed the jury against her. But what he didn't realize was that the woman he was trying to discredit had been silently gathering her own evidence, not for the trial, but for a much bigger case. She had stumbled upon discrepancies in the prosecutor's financial dealings months before her arrest. Suspicious transactions, hidden accounts, and connections to questionable figures had sparked her curiosity. Now, as she sat in court, watching him twist the facts to suit his agenda, she knew the stakes were higher than her own freedom. What she didn't know was just how far the prosecutor would go to protect his secrets, and how dangerous her discoveries might become. As the trial pressed on, the tension in the courtroom grew thicker. The prosecutor delivered arguments with confidence, using every trick in the book to corner the defendant. Witnesses were carefully chosen, evidence exaggerated, and objections raised to keep critical facts from coming to light. To the jury, it looked like a slam-dunk case. But for the woman sitting at the defense table, this was a dangerous game of cat and mouse. She had spent years as an investigator, piecing together puzzles and following trails others overlooked. And now she was sitting on a mountain of information about the very man trying to destroy her. She remembered late nights poring over bank records and emails, slowly realizing the prosecutor had been abusing his position to line his pockets. But there was a twist. Someone else seemed to know. Subtle threats, cryptic warnings, and missing files hinted that she wasn't the only one chasing the truth. The courtroom was silent as the prosecutor called his final witness, delivering what he believed would be the blow to seal the case. But the defendant's mind was racing. Every piece of evidence he presented seemed like an echo of her own investigation, carefully twisted to paint her as the villain. She recognized documents that had been altered, timelines manipulated, and testimony that didn't add up. It was becoming clear someone on his side knew about her findings and was working just as hard to bury the truth. Outside the courtroom, the pressure was mounting. Anonymous emails started flooding her inbox, warning her to back off. Her office had been broken into twice in the last month, but nothing was ever stolen, just searched. It wasn't just the prosecutor anymore. Someone bigger seemed invested in keeping this buried. And now, as the trial neared its end, she knew the next move could either expose everything or put her in even greater danger. Just as the trial seemed to be winding down, a sudden development shocked everyone in the courtroom. The defense attorney, who had appeared reserved throughout the case, presented a motion to submit new evidence that could shift the entire narrative. A flurry of whispers erupted as a folder was handed to the judge, its contents sealed from public view for now. The prosecutor's confident demeanor faltered for the first time, his expression tightening as if he already knew what was inside. Outside the courthouse, things were spiraling further. The defendant received a cryptic message from an unknown source claiming to have critical information about the prosecutor's hidden dealings. The sender offered to meet, but only under specific, suspicious conditions. Torn between fear and determination, she realized this could either confirm everything she suspected or lead her straight into a trap. Meanwhile, the prosecutor's actions became more erratic. Behind closed doors, he pushed harder to suppress any mention of his finances, resorting to threats and leveraging his power over key witnesses. The defendant now faced a dangerous choice: follow the lead and risk everything, or stick to the evidence she already had, knowing the clock was running out. With every passing moment, the walls seemed to close in, and the truth felt closer. But so did the danger. The courtroom was electric as the judge granted the motion to review the new evidence. The prosecutor's confidence shattered completely when the defense revealed the documents, authentic, unaltered records exposing discrepancies in the case against the defendant. But that wasn't all. Embedded within those files were connections to suspicious financial transactions, directly tied to the prosecutor himself. The judge ordered an immediate investigation, and for the first time, the spotlight turned on the man who had orchestrated the trial. As the truth unraveled, it became clear the prosecutor had been siphoning funds from cases he oversaw, using his power to silence anyone who got too close. The defendant's quiet investigation had exposed not just corruption, but a trail leading to powerful allies who had protected him for years. The courtroom buzzed as reporters scrambled to piece together the unfolding scandal. But just as the defendant felt a wave of relief, the unexpected twist hit. A member of the jury, planted by the prosecutor's allies, attempted to discredit the new evidence by accusing the defendant of tampering. Chaos erupted, and the case was suddenly at risk of collapsing again. However, a last-minute witness, the anonymous source who had been feeding her information, stepped forward. They testified under oath, linking the prosecutor's financial crimes to his actions in the trial. The jury returned a verdict of not guilty, and the prosecutor was led out in handcuffs. But as the defendant walked free, she couldn't shake the feeling that the prosecutor's allies weren't finished, and that her fight for justice might only just be beginning. As the courtroom emptied, the defendant stood outside, feeling the weight of freedom and justice settle over her. She had cleared her name and exposed the prosecutor's corruption, but it wasn't a victory she could celebrate fully. The prosecutor's allies, powerful and hidden in the shadows, remained a looming threat. Yet she knew she couldn't let fear dictate her next steps. Reflecting on everything, she realized this fight wasn't just about her. It was about holding people in power accountable and ensuring others wouldn't face the same injustice. Her evidence would spark broader investigations, shining a light on a system designed to protect the few at the expense of the many. As she walked away, she felt a mix of relief and resolve. This chapter of her life had closed, but the story wasn't over. Change was coming, and she intended to be part of it, no matter what challenges lay ahead.